Yeah. So, happy anniversary, church. November 10th, 1972. The members of the Valley Study Group presented their petition to the Board of Home Missions at the District Conference and were given mission status by the Universal Fellowship of Metropolitan Community Churches. We are a long way from 1972. That day in history, we had the hijacking of the Southern Airways Flight 49. It started on November 10th and ended on November 12th. Actually, it ended on November 12th in Cuba. The cover of Life magazine had questions for peace, mentioning 543 POWs. What shape are they in? 1,271 MIAs. How many are alive? Where does it leave us? An Ohio town talks of war, and the Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip celebrated 25 years. The Dow Jones would just clear 1,000 that day. And of course today it's over 18,000. The dollar had the buying power of $5.75. The inflation rate was only 4.06%. And the median price for a home in the USA was just $29,100. The median home in LA was $28,000. We were actually lower than the national average. Those days are gone. President Nixon was just reelected as President of the United States. Yeah, that's election time again. The hottest day of 1972 in Los Angeles was October 6th with a high of 93 degrees. The hottest day this year was 109 in the valley. And we know we hit 120 in some places outside of LA County. Don't tell me there's no such thing as global warming. Oh, I just said all that. I got ahead of myself. So happy anniversary, 44 years of growing together, of seeing pastors come and go. Some of you have witnessed it all. Some of you are still very new to this. We've been a strong congregation, and at times we have been a burdened congregation. One of our little pieces of history is this letter from 1972 I wanted to share with you. This is from December 1st, board meeting. The board of directors meeting, those present, Howard Williams, James Miller, Eldon Chown. The treasury has a balance of $380. Wow, about the same we have today. Howard Williams suggests that we spend 5% of our collections to the Universal Fellowship. This is not required of a mission, but will help us with our charter. Vote was taken, that was passed. The prison ministry suggests we pay $5 per month, or we can pay it quarterly at $15 to complete the fourth quarter. It would only be $10, and that was passed. So we had a prison ministry right from the beginning in those days. There was a $1,000 fund, and then we can borrow on it at 50%. Any fundraising activities will pay back anything borrowed from this. Suggested we put 10% of the total collection to be added to the $1,000 fund, and $118 for the deacons fund. All monies for the deacons will be deposited to a saving fund, and deacons will have a $100 account to be used as they need and replenished monthly. Petty cash fund will be an amount of $25. We still operate on pretty much that basis today. Oh, fundraising goal. We need hymnals. Well, I guess that happened. Mrs. Iona Miller wants to start working on it towards the committee for fundraising for hymnals, and she will have a garage sale in January at the home of Bob Chavez and Don Price. There was discussions about over invitations to speak and how much we might want to charge for that. And Christmas dinner being planned. It will take place right after church on December 24th at the home of Sandy Stewart. Everyone's to bring a small gift not worth more than $1.50. We did that today, everybody would have chewing gum. Potluck on December 19th. Well, we're still keeping up our tradition of potluck. I don't think that's ever ended. And as a matter of fact, it's actually, if you peruse the pictures back here, some of the things we've had since the beginning and still have today: chili cook-offs, country western dancing, garage sales, and potlucks. Those things have never changed over the years. Matter of fact, there's several pictures of Paul through the ages tasting chili. That's what it was like back then. Just a little bit of our history. And like I said, there's much more on the altar back here. And I left the altar up technically because this is All Saints Sunday. And today's reading from Luke's, Jesus' question by the Sadducees who do not believe in the resurrection. This story also appears in Matthew and Mark's Gospel. I am the God of the living, Jesus is referring to the promise of the resurrection or the promise of life after this one. Whether or not you believe in the physical or the spiritual resurrection, there is more to this life than, well, this life. That's why we're all here. We just celebrated the Day of the Dead, All Souls Day, and now All Saints Day. We celebrate because we know deep down that though our loved ones may be lost to us in this world, they are still very much alive in the next. In almost every culture, there is a belief that the dead should be honored, be it out of respect or a fear of ghostly retribution. In some cultures, there are holidays set aside specifically to commemorate the dead, which vary from reserved veneration to a killer party. The Inuit people believe their ancestors would visit them and appear as the Northern Lights. The Lakota people hold the tradition that the dead one's spirit lingers for a whole year after passing, and a special place is set up for the spirit who is fed every day. Members of the family and community can come and visit, eat, and sit with the spirit and the family. And after a year, the spirit is released. The Japanese celebrate the Oban festival. The Japanese believe on the interconnection and interdependence of almost everything on the earth, from humans, nature, the elements, and including the spirits. They give honor and express their gratitude, not only to their immediate relatives who have recently passed away, but also to their earliest human ancestors who lived decades and centuries and millenniums ago. The Japanese believe that at the start of Oban, the spirits of their relatives and ancestors come back to the physical world and visit them. Aside from offering prayers and holding memorial services at Buddhist temples, individual houses, and establishments, they hang lanterns believing that their lights will guide the spirits. And on the last night of Oban, people send off their spirits back to their world with the help of floating lanterns or paper lanterns and candles or even bonfires. We just celebrated All Hallows Eve and All Souls Day and now All Saints Day. And like I just said, in Japan, there's Oban, Chuseok in Korea, Gaichata in Nepal, Qingming in China, Pitru Paksha in Hindu tradition, just to name a few. Many of these festivals include leaving out food for the visiting ancestor. Okay, I know it's symbolic, but hey, you don't feed the dead. Our God is a God of the living. From long before Christianity to faith traditions all around the world, there is an inherent knowledge that there is life beyond this plane of existence. There is a promise of something more, and not just something more, but a place where we are united with those who we have gone before us, a communion of saints. So today, as we celebrate the anniversary of this congregation, we share in the memories and the lives of those who have gone before us. Many of those pictured here are no longer with us. There is a whole line of pictures on this balcony over there of the quilt project when they held it here in this church, the Names Project. People built this church, this road, this congregation that we have chosen to walk together with. And today we don't only look to the past, but we look at where we have gone and where we are going. I came to this congregation just a few months over 10 years ago, not knowing anyone. Bob and I were starting to date, and we knew whatever and however our lives were to evolve, it would involve our congregation. We were married here. I was ordained here. We have quite a few couples that were married here. You all have shared our lives within this community. We built a garden. We planted seeds for going greener. We planted seeds for a way of being that will change our world, with changing out the light bulbs and reducing paper and putting solar panels on our roof. We even put solar panels on Las Memorias Rehab Center and Hospice in Tijuana. And they can use a few more. We're waiting for word just how many. So We've put on plays. We made our space available for movie shoots and important films like Sinners and Corpus Christi's Playing with Redemption. We have put on festivals and yard sales. We have fed our community. But first and foremost, we are a loving community who try to do our best to welcome all. We are human and we have failed at times, and we've had to make amends, and then we moved on. We have so much to be proud of, and so much to look forward to as we grow and change. The future is unknown and perhaps scary, but we need to face it and be active in it, not just sit back and let it happen. We have become a very active part of the United Church of Christ, partnering with congregations from across the valley. And they are happy to have us. I've heard it more than once. We are their first eco-justice church, and we were just proclaimed an accessible to all church, and we're one of 4 in the nation, according to their website. Only 4 churches have the ability to serve all with disabilities. And that's just luckily because of the way this building was built. We don't need ramps, so that was easy. If anybody needs large print, I can do that in 5 minutes. We have hearing assisted devices. We can provide an interpreter if somebody is deaf. We really have just naturally fallen into this thing that the church created, that the denomination created, and we just checked off all the squares. We're like, look, we're done. We as a congregation have put scarves and hats and socks on the homeless. We brought toys to children affected by HIV. We helped out a woman's shelter. We provided underwear and socks to an orphanage in Africa one year. We provide a safe place for outreach and support groups dealing with recovery from multiple abuses. We are a safe space for the over 50s group from the LGBT Center of Los Angeles. We have a working relationship with our local police department here in North Hollywood, as well as the LAPD. We are represented at Clergy and Laity United for Economic Justice, United Church of Christ AIDS Network, and Claremont School of Theology, and CSUN. For a small congregation, you are actually a powerful people. You don't understand, but you allowing us to work for you and serve you also gives us the time to make this congregation connected throughout LA. You prove that God is a God of the living every day just by showing up and participating. You prove that our God is a God of the living by asking what you can do outside, inside. You're always taking time to check in, to volunteer. If any one of us is falling down, somebody from this congregation is there to pick us up. This congregation is very much alive and has a very strong future, and I believe that we can rebuild this congregation to what it once was, day by day, just by doing what we do best, and that's loving each other. So, happy anniversary, congregation.